Hello everyone, this is Barry Armour from Make Photos Great Again. Today I'm doing a photo tutorial on a photo that I titled $2,000 Please. And the takeaways that I hope you get from this tutorial are about planning, composition, specifically the rule of thirds, processing as it relates to the choices that I made for processing this image. Not so much a tutorial on how to do it. We'll cover that in a separate video. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about image titles. This is my Make Photos Great Again planning worksheet. And I just want to go over some of the planning ideas that I had for this. The purpose of the image was for a photo club monthly meeting assignment called Love That Red. So obviously it's intended that the focus or main impact point of the photograph is something red. My vision for this was to, after giving it some thought, was to focus on a red hotel on Boardwalk. More specifically, I wanted to get close to the property of Boardwalk with the hotel on it and use a shallow depth of field so that the rest of the board in the background fades out of focus because of lens blur. And I wanted to make sure, for setup purposes, I had a game piece on the property just to convey the idea that now someone owes rent. And that can be, those of us who've played the game before know that that can be a traumatic experience and a game-changing experience as well. And then I wanted to make sure that any other improvements on other properties in the shot were houses and not hotels. Houses are green, and I didn't want any other competing red hotels to draw the viewer's eye away from where I wanted it to be. The keys to making this an impactful image. Someone owes a lot of rent. I'm relying on the concept relies on the knowledge that most of us have that it is significant and emotional at sometimes to land on Boardwalk with a hotel. And the other part of it that I conceptualized was to use selective color for the red hotel. And you've probably seen this on images before. That's where you convert the whole image to black and white and then only let the subject that you want to draw the viewer's eye directly to be in color. Sometimes that works and sometimes it looks cliche, so I wanted to try that and see how it works. The location for the shot was at my home, and the due date was as prescribed by the photo club. The equipment that I needed for the shot was a classic Monopoly board game, which I didn't have. Actually, I went and had to buy one, but that's okay because I love the game, and I have high hopes on this shot. So I went ahead and did some test images, and here you can see that the color is the focus is falling off according to my plan, and it did get focused in on the Boardwalk property and the hotel. And then over here I did a test selective color image where I converted everything to black and white and then used selective color to let this Boardwalk property and hotel shine through, if you will. And I do like that. I don't think it looks cliche in this instance, and I've decided that's what I'm going to go through. After you make some test shots, it is a good idea to stop and think, okay, do I need to change anything different about my plan? And in this instance, I decided that it wasn't quite impactful enough for me. And I decided I wanted to have a model just showing their hands reaching in and grabbing their winnings from the pot. And you'll see what that image looks like here. This is the straight out of the camera or unprocessed image. So anytime in photography, when you see SOOC, that means straight out of the camera. And first thing you can see here is that there's an area that is at the bottom of the image that's dark and so very weighty and unnecessary. And anything that's unnecessary in a photograph, you want to try to subtract it if you can. So I determined that on this photo I would crop it square, or at least that looks like it would work, to get rid of that bottom piece and really focus in on the main area of emphasis. So the outside square is the crop area that I ended up picking for this image. I wanted to make sure I ended up with the go here, collect $200 as you pass go, because this is a key part of the game, also iconic. And then I put the boardwalk property right in the center of this grid pattern, which is these 1/3 lines horizontally and vertically, basically a tic-tac-toe grid, are referred to as the rule of thirds in photography, which is the most commonly known composition aid out there for photographers. And the concept says that where these lines intersect, these 4 points, are where your eye focuses in on when you look at something new first. So if you have the ability to crop something or lay it out in your camera where you can land up what you want to be focused on right in the middle of these, then on one of these 4 intersections, then that's the ideal place to put it. It's also good for just using the 1/3 lines and columns as a way to think about the balance of the image. In this case, I like the balance having the hotel in the center on the bottom, and then the pot in the center of the middle third, and then the person's hands in the upper third. To me, that is balanced out fairly well with for interest purposes. And I know that I'm going to convert this to black and white, and when I do that, the focus is going to zoom right in on the color part that I'll leave here in the middle on boardwalk. So here's what that crop looks like. You can see I also gave it a saturation boost. I wanted to make sure that the red hotel and the boardwalk property were really bright colors and popped. The result of saturating it was it oversaturated some items in the background, but that's okay because I'm going to convert it to black and white and that won't matter. So here's what the black and white conversion looked like. And this is done in Photoshop. I converted the whole image to black and white and then used a layer mask to mask out the boardwalk property with the hotel and allow the color to pass through. This is very easy to do in Photoshop. All of these edits are. This is the final image. I added a vignetting around the outside, a dark vignette, to keep the viewer's eye on the inside of the image. I'm going to go back and let you see what it looked like without the vignette and forward with the vignette so you can see what that does. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about in this tutorial was about naming your image. When you bring your image off of your camera onto your computer, it gives it a name just based on whatever protocols your particular camera has established for photo naming. It's usually maybe a date, maybe it's just a series of random numbers, or a series of random numbers with a series of random letters, but it's not meaningful for the most part. I think it's very important if you spend time on an image and it's something you might end up putting in a show or an exhibit, or just sharing with your friends or posting it on the internet. The name can give a clue to the viewer what you think is important about the image, what you want to convey that may not be obvious, and just add context to your image, which can make the overall viewing experience be more valuable. The image name that I picked here was $2,000, please. That is the rent on board when it has a hotel. And I just think it's important, and I highly recommend doing that. So that's the last takeaway I hope you got from this tutorial, and I want to thank you very much for watching this Make Photos Great Again photo tutorial.